Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We got the Lethal Collective all set and ready to rock. All right.
Yeah.
Episode 2. Here we go.
Episode 2. We actually survived long enough to do a second episode.
Hey, it's longer than some network TV shows.
Yeah, that's
right.
One pilot, you never coming back.
Pilot was a success.
That's true.
Yes.
That's a good point. I hate it when that happens, especially if it's something that you like.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
for real.
Yes, you catch that, like, you're just like, oh, this is great. I'm trying to think of, like,
Yeah.
what was the last one that you guys remember that was like that?
Oh man.
Ooh,
Just
boy.
one episode or one season?
Or either or, I guess, because I'm
So-
sure there's more just one season shows that were great than one pilot episodes that were great.
Oh man. I'm trying to think. There was this one sci-fi show that was really, really cool. And it had oh my god, what was her name? She was in Gerald's Game. She starred in Gerald's Game from Stephen King. And God, it was a sci-fi show. It was like a season. And God, man, I was so upset when it stopped. They cut it off. I was like, damn it. What was the name of that show? That's gonna mess with me now.
I wonder-
but
I wonder if
I've
it's-
had that happen a few times.
I wonder if it's
V.
the one that I'm thinking about.
V.
V, you're right.
Remember V?
Yeah.
I remember
Because you had-
V.
Yeah, you had V the
Oh,
mini
man.
series, which was awesome. Then you
Yeah.
had V the final battle, and then you had V the regular show,
Mhm.
and they stopped it, and like it
Yep.
was like a cliffhanger. It's like, what the
was a-
hell's gonna happen?
It was terrible, the cliffhanger ending. It was awful. It's one of the
I know.
reasons why I'm like, do we really want to do a cliffhanger in Scream 5? Because there's always a chance. There's always that
Right.
chance, man.
It just
Oh.
won't get continued.
Could you
Come
imagine?
on.
I could see.
No.
I could see though, like, because they said that this will have a conclusive ending, right? So, but that doesn't mean that everything will be concluded. So, I mean,
Yeah,
you can
right.
still have a ghost face. But what about you, Jay? What's a show that you were like, oh, like I needed more of this?
Now I gotta look it up.
Man, like nothing's coming to mind specifically of a show. Okay. Ash versus Evil Dead. Did you guys ever watch Ash versus Evil
Yeah.
Dead?
Yeah, but that was a
Oh,
couple
you-
seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but it needed more seasons. In my
I know, I
opinion.
agree.
Like, dude,
I was
3 seasons
upset.
was not enough of that show. It was so good, and I don't know. It's my favorite horror television show, like ever, in my opinion. It's so
great.
good. Yeah,
It sucks that
Evil
sucks
Dead
that,
across the board is just all good. Every Evil Dead thing is so good.
Army of Darkness, baby.
Army of
Oh, yeah.
Darkness.
yes.
It sucks that Bruce Campbell, like, this is it for Bruce Campbell as far as, like, I know we got Evil Dead Rise and stuff, but, like,
Right.
and I mean, he made a good point. He's like, I just physically can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Yeah,
like, physically,
right.
it's just, which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, you got to imagine that's probably
Pretty
rough
physical.
on him.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
I mean,
what's
of
his-
course he has stunt doubles and stuff, but still,
Right.
like, it's like,
That's really him in like Evil Dead 2, I think, when he flies through the car windshield.
yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really doing that, man.
He's just
The love
over
of
there smiling,
filmmaking.
like, hey.
We don't need any stunt doubles.
Yeah, no.
Heck no, man. Jackie
Threshold.
Chan, baby.
Threshold. Threshold was the name of the
Oh,
show.
okay.
And it
Okay.
had Carla Gugino in it, and I loved that show. And it was like 2 or 3 seasons, maybe 2. Anyways, point being is it was good, and then next thing you know, it was canceled. I was like,
Man.
oh man,
Man,
sucks.
Man.
it's a shame.
It
You know,
is.
there's a show that's actually was canceled this season. It was called it was a Fox show called Prodigal Son. And
okay.
I don't know if you guys ever saw it or not, but it was really good,
what I heard.
man. It was really good. Michael Sheehan was in it, has a great role in it, and it's about a guy who's a profiler for the police department, psychological
Mhm.
profiler, and his dad is a famous serial killer in prison. And the relationship they have back and forth, and the manipulation, and it's pretty intense at times, man. It's not horror, but it's definitely got some pretty brutal parts to it. So
Wow,
it's canceled though. I was really disappointed. It was really good.
I hate that. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
I
I'm
really
trying
do.
to think of I should probably look it up real quick, but maybe somebody in the chat will know. It was like, so it was this show. It was about like this group of like 7 people, and they all like had like this like connection or whatever, and they were supposed to like stop the apocalypse. And it was only 1 season. The acting wasn't great, but it had the blonde girl. She's been in a bunch of stuff since then.
The Umbrella Academy? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh.
No.
Did it
was,
have John Cho in it as one of the leads?
no.
Okay.
No, it was God, let me see if I can find it real quick. Maybe somebody in the chat. Here, talk for a minute.
talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves for a second while I find it, because that's gonna drive me crazy. It wasn't great, but it was enough to like want more, and they canceled it after like 12 episodes or something.
Wow,
That's a shame.
I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Hey, Apollo, my response to that question is yes. I think it will.
Is that the Scream
5?
question?
Yeah, I think it will exceed Halloween. Yeah.
Probably faster.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. There's so much. I would argue that there's more hype for the new Scream than there was for Halloween Kills. I think that's probably.
I agree.
That could start an argument right there, but
an argument that they'll lose if they come around here. Yeah, I think. I mean, look, the marketing for Scream. You know, not to be a dead horse that we talk about, but it's true. It's unparalleled in my book, and you know, forget about horror. Any franchise is not the insane attention to marketing they're doing. I mean, the TikTok, and we got the 12 days. I mean, featurettes coming out. I mean, I can barely even get a video ready to post, and there's new stuff. It's like a great problem, but it's insane. Don't get me wrong, but it's insane, guys. I mean,
did you see that?
I was just gonna say, if this marketing doesn't pay off, then they just need to shut down the marketing department of studios.
Right?
If this fails, then no one has a shot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jake. What are you gonna say, man?
Did you see that featurette today? Like you saw it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
Yes. I haven't got a video out yet, but I'm been working on it.
When
I just watched it.
It was so cool, man. When he went, "Hello, Samantha," I was like, "Oh yes,
yep."
Giving it his all, man.
I don't know. I can't find it. It'll come to me.
Well,
I don't want to spend here the whole podcast trying to figure it out. It'll come to me.
It'll come to you, man.
I'm trying to remember the main actress's name because she's been in a bunch of other stuff, and like as soon as that comes to me, I'll remember the name because I can just look for her and then. But anyway, yeah, that trailer. I like the featurette so much because we finally got some insight into the characters. Like they established Wes is like the nerd, which is a really interesting thing because in that trailer, he's like, yeah, you need to delete your social medias, block your webcams. We need to do all this stuff. And everything we've seen from Ghostface, they get into Tara's security system. You know, they track, clone or take Amber's phone. They do the same thing to Liv's phone with the tracking. Yep. I was like, and then Chad, like the whole misdirection, like, oh, you got bruises and stuff. And it's like, but you established a lot. Like you established like the sort of nerdy guy. You established the jock. You establish Amber as like the girl who's just like blunt and point blank. Mindy's the one that's like kind of watching everybody, like, hey, you need to be more careful. Like,
and a little creepy too.
Yeah, big time creep factor, bro. Oh,
I was getting them Judy Hicks vibes.
Yes, me too.
And that answered the scene we saw where Amber's going down the stairs, and it was like, is that going to be a Tatum 2.0 scene? I mean, not saying that they still can't be attacked because full context is everything, but just going off of that, it looks like no, it's just a scene that like it will be like a jump scare to some people, like well,
it jumped. Amber jumped. I mean, when
she did.
Then when she shut which begs the question. I mean, I'm literally was working on this video later. I'll probably post it tomorrow. But the question I said in the video is, does that mean Mindy was already down there in the basement, like lurking?
That's how I took it, because what I'm thinking is like, I know you're probably suggesting like, oh, could she be Ghostface? But like, I'm almost thinking she's like being a jerk, like Randy. Think what Randy would do in that situation and be like, boom, you're dead. You know what I mean? He's like, you did not survive the horror movie because you didn't follow the rules or whatever. That's almost how I got you. That scene is gonna feel like, how that's gonna play out essentially. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
well, because she tells Amber to trust no one, and she's got that creepy look on her face.
Yeah, suspect as hell.
Dude, big time, man. Yeah. I mean,
hey, real quick, I just want to answer this. I know Jake must have seen this too, but Jen was asking, was Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man? And I just want to say right now, and as long as Jake's okay with it, I want to keep non-spoiler type of Spider-Man talk, because I saw it today.
Spoilers.
I did a reaction to it, and all I can say is this, guys: it was awesome. It was awesome, and we'll just keep it at that. But Anyways, I'm sorry, guys. Continue.
I get people asking me that all the time. They're like, when Scream 5 comes out, are you gonna like spoil stuff? Like, and I'm like, no. Like,
No.
I'm like, I'll probably do like a generic, like, just this is how I felt about the film. I said, and then I'll probably let it marinate for a week. Unless there's just something that like I have to talk about. But even then, like I was telling them, like I'll put like spoiler in the caption. I'll probably do like a 30-second intro. So like the only way you can absolutely see this spoiler is you actually made the effort to.
Right. You can't blame me for it.
Yeah, like I did
research.
But I'd like to give it a couple days because I just feel like stuff like that, because not everyone can see it as soon as it gets out. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of obligated because it's our content. Like I was like, out of every film that comes out from here to the end of time, I have to see Scream like immediately because it's kind of like my my thing.
Yep. Yeah. It's almost like if you don't, it's like, what the heck are you doing? You know?
I'm gonna see it like 2 weeks after it comes out, and then I'll record it.
People ask me all the questions. I'm just making it up as we go along.
You'd be like, I just wanted to be a slacker on this guy, so you know that.
I'm letting everyone else get ahead, and then I guess I'll talk about it. I don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
I just want to catch up. Oh, speaking of another thing that I get asked all the time is like, how do I think, like, will this just be pure dark, like, you know, because it looks like a more brutal Scream, stuff like that, and do I think that there will be more like, if there will be like a comical aspect to it? I don't think that it's going to be like as goofy and silly as the past ones, you know, like the kind of tongue-in-cheek comedy. I do think that there will be, you know, comical moments, and a great example is at the end of that featurette. When you know they're talking to Sam, and Sam's like, so let me get this straight, you and a host of a TV show want me to commit murder, and they're like, yes.
I love that. I laughed so hard on that line.
I love
and they pulled it off so well.
Yeah,
Courtney pulled it off so well. I was just like, all right, man, I'm just getting the hype level is just ratcheting up. It's crazy, man.
And I'm glad they put that scene in the featurette, because it does give you that nostalgic sense of comedic presence that we saw in the first Scream. It's like, because there were moments like that in the first Scream where you would laugh, and you know, but it wasn't like goofy, but it was still funny at times. And that was a perfect scene there. And I think my most favorite line was when Samantha, well, I should say, gosh, I went blank. What's the actress's name who plays Sam? Melissa Barrera. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Whenever she was being interviewed, she said, you notice how she said every new character is connected to the legacy cast, or to the, and so, or to the, you know, the past people. So I'm like, whoa, that opens up a Pandora's box of stuff, because if every character, we already know about the Meeks, and we already know about Mackenzie because connected to Becker, and you know, we've got some things there in Sam and all this other stuff. Well, we think it's Sam is connected to Loomis, but either way, I was thinking tonight, if you guys are up for it, that's something we could talk about, because you know, she's indicating all the new characters. That was a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, I texted you guys. I'm like, Vince, you know, like finally Vince. But I don't know, guys. It's interesting if they really wrote this where all of these 12 or all these I guess 9 or 10 new people, not the Hicks people, you know, all the new people are actually connected in some way directly to a legacy previous person. That is pretty brilliant, man. That's exciting.
I'm curious exactly how you're going to do that, though, because because we even have the scene where it's like, oh, all of the attacks are related to people of past killers. But like, if you really think about it, every killer is related or connected to Sydney or Billy, like because either Billy or Sydney, because you have Billy and then you have Mrs. Loomis, who's related to him. Mickey is just kind of off on his own. Roman's Sydney's sister. Jill is Sydney's cousin or whatever, or niece, whatever. And so like literally like pretty much all of the killers are either connected directly to Billy or directly to Sydney in some capacity. The other ones are just kind of like the accomplice that gets killed. Like, you know, they're just like the one that gets tricked into committing these acts for the main person. So like it's like
Mickey or Angelina.
Yeah, like Mickey, Charlie, Angelina. You know,
baby.
Even, that's right. You know, like they were all characters that they weren't the main killer. They were just kind of the ones that were like bought into the cause, sort of. So I'm curious, like how that's going to really play out, because it's like, all right, like, you know, okay, they're all in relation, but are they related? Are they all are they all related to Billy and Sydney? Which, I mean, technically, like, the whole theory that everyone has is that Sam is related to Billy, like whether it's Hank, a sister or a cousin or whatever, that it's very likely that's, so I understand that relation. But then who's left? I mean, you have Liv, who's a McKenzie, right? You have the Meeks twins. Yeah. You have Wes, who's a Hicks.
Yeah.
And Richie. You have Richie, who so that could be a reveal.
Well, Richie isn't from Woodsboro, though, right?
So that's my argument too. Because I've had people well, he's related to Richie, or he's Stu, or he's related to this character, and I'm like, yeah, but he's like,
he's not even from because Sam's not in Woodsboro to begin with.
When she meets him,
exactly.
Well, and that's why I don't know how
we don't really know that. I guess.
Yeah, well, exactly. Maybe there is connections, but that's also why I question the whole, like, because the consensus from people, at least in my comments, is that Richie and Amber are the killers. Amber, I understand, but Richie, I don't. That doesn't make sense to me, because again, like, he's not. Sam meets him at a bowling alley that he's working at. Like, that's the whole thing. There's even been an image released. You know, so it's like.
But how do we know? How do we not know, though, that Richie didn't work there because Sam was working there?
Yeah,
how do we not know?
Well, that's true too.
Yeah, like, well, you know, assuming he came after, like, what I mean, what are the, like, who's to say he's not working there before, and she's the one that, so, like, in that case, like, how would he know that she's gonna work at that bowling alley? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I mean, without the full context, it's hard to know. I mean, it's hard to know.
I mean, it's hard because you're trying to stretch these things together.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that Richie isn't, he has no connection to anyone as far as we know at this time.
That we know of,
so it's just like that. I don't know. That just doesn't click for me. I mean, I'm not saying that's not the case. I actually want to make a video too. I wanted to do it today, but we just got so much going on, which would be a good time to plug. After this, at 5 p.m., all of us will be over at Podcast Now for a huge live stream with not just the collective, but what we have. Who else? Scream Obsessed. We have
Ryan C. Showers.
Ryan C. Showers. And Podcast Now.
Yeah, Podcast Now.
Yeah.
Or 8 o'clock Eastern time, too.
Yes.
That's right.
So, 8 o'clock Eastern.
7 Central.
There you go.
Get all of our time zones in.
But yeah, I wanted to do a video on Richie. I'll probably post it tomorrow. But him being sort of Derek. And the reason I make that connection, too, is because in the new featurette, there's that scene where he's cut on the same arm in the same way, and he's talking to Sam. Right. So I immediately I saw that and I was like, Derek. And so I want to go like down the rabbit hole and obviously make a video about it. But like briefly here, I think that's really interesting. And I wonder if we're going to get a maybe Derek moment where, like, you know, where Sam has to make that decision like Sydney did. And we saw Sydney made the wrong decision.
Right.
Or will Sam make the right one? And I think that'd be kind of cool. Like, you know, like kind of that mirror. Because a lot of these scenes seem to mirror past films. Like not necessarily a like for like, but very similar.
And of course, Derek was originally going to be the killer,
right?
Or one of the killers, I should say, in Scream 2.
It's true.
That could be Richie's motive if he's the killer. I mean, think about it.
Maybe it's related to Derek.
Yeah, he could blame Sydney for Derek's death, essentially.
Yeah.
Who knows what Derek was up to with other women?
I mean,
that's a stretch. That's something I literally just came up with off the top of my head. But
my only problem with that, because I've talked about connections like to Cotton and like all these various characters, like not necessarily children, but just like some relation. The problem with all those characters, though, that like I find myself struggling to like embrace those. I mean, obviously, like I'll have the discussion with people because it's fun to go down those rabbit holes. But if I'm being honest, none of that makes sense because Sydney's not the like. It looks based on what we have is that Richie and Sam reach out to Dewey, and then Dewey reaches out to Sydney and Gail, and very likely Gail, because it's probably how Gail's going to find out about it too. I mean, unless like there's some news and because she's a host, she's kind of tuned into it maybe. But if I had to guess, we'll probably get that Sydney phone call, and either before or after that was probably the Gail call. Like, you know, maybe she didn't answer, but at least a voicemail like, hey, it's happening again. Just be careful. Because you would think Dewey would be like, hey, same thing that he did to Sydney. Like, hey, like, you know, I know you're good. I know you got your show. I love you. I care for you. Just be careful type thing. And so that's my only problem is that like they all seem to kind of get dragged in. And there's even a reference where Sydney even kind of states that, like, you know, we're all kind of dragged into this based on the past. Like, and so that's why I always have a hard time. Like, oh, why would like the killers could be this or that and that. It's like, but like, this isn't a film about Sydney. It's a film about Sam and her story. And Sydney just kind of gets thrown in. Like all the OGs are kind of intertwined. And so that's kind of like, that's my only issue with that. But they're fun to go down. I'm not going to lie.
I agree. I don't think that the killer's motive will actually have anything to do with the original, like the OG people. It's all going to be something with the new people because and the OGs are just kind of thrown into it. That's such a way more interesting approach because like the past, like how many people want to kill Sidney Prescott? You know what I mean? Like,
right. At some point it's so unrealistic.
That's
it's just we've seen it so many times too. You know what I mean? I want to let's do something different. We need something fresh, especially in this franchise. So
I agree.
Well, and plus, if the new characters are connected to the past, then that brings a full circle kind of feel to it. So while they may not be going after Sydney, Sydney's connected because they're connected to the same origin point.
So it was a nice way for them to do that because it's more realistic because they're not just going after Sydney. She's not the focus, but yet what had happened, you know, that's the connection.
Sydney, that's the connection. And that's why we're back at Stu's house. I mean, because if there was no connection to the origin point, we wouldn't be going back there again. So it's all going back to that house.
Well, I like that's another thing too, is that like even like with Stu's house, because people are like, well, like what's the point? And it's like it's a house in Woodsboro it's been 25 years since it happened. I mean, eventually somebody's gonna move into that house. Somebody's gonna live there. I mean, the Amityville house had a horrific murder, one of the biggest ones in history, and somebody moved in less than a year later. Like that's how the movies got started because all the like weird stuff supposedly happened or whatever. And but like even without the supernatural stuff that supposedly went on at that house, the fact that it happens all the time, people get murdered and then somebody moves in sometimes months later. You know, like I mean,
you get that cheap price and sometimes you can't turn it down. That's what happened with the Lutzes. They were like, well, it kind of sucks that somebody was murdered in here, but you know, we don't got that much money. So
well, some states don't even have to disclose that, you know, so it's like you know, so like you would never know somebody was murdered in this house if that was the case. I mean, obviously Woodsboro's a small town, it probably made big headlines, you know, but like it's like, and I've had people like, so that's a good question, like why do you think the Mackenzies live there? Because we know they lived in another house down the road from Casey. And my sort of thinking, and there's no evidence for this, there's just kind of thought like maybe they just wanted a bigger house because it's a small town. How many houses are, you know, in this town that are just like the size of Stu's? And two, what if they're in like real estate or something, you know? Like that was kind of like my thinking.
I mean, there's only one real answer to that, why they moved there. Have you seen The View? I mean, have you seen the view of the back? Come on, man. What other reason do you need, man? You know, we can throw some paint on the wall, scrub off the DNA. I like the view out here. This is the place to be. So, no, I don't know. But but those are good points, man. You're right. I mean, people do that all the time. But
I have a good question. Do we think because it looks like we might be getting a flashback? I think we got the first piece of information, and I showed the image. I don't know if you saw the video or not about it. And one thing I forgot to include in that was like the biggest sign that it is a flashback. And I don't know why I blanked on it, but I've been responding in the comments. But is the pumpkin sitting on the porch? Because Scream 96 was in October. This film isn't in October. So I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a flashback. So one, do you think we're going to get a flashback that reveals new details, new information about 96 that we didn't know? And two, do you think that there is like a secret room or safe or something like that in Stu Macher's house?
I think we will get a flashback.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I've thought that for a long time, and it would kind of make sense, you know, to kind of have that bridge to the past, some way, somehow. Whether it's a flashback that's visually, or I don't know how they would. Well, they could do it just audible, but I do think it would be a flashback, and it would make total sense to me. Like it would fit. It really would.
Yeah. Agreed. I think yes and yes is my answer.
Okay.
Yes
cool.
and yes.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah, I'd love to see a flashback scene. I mean, I think it would be sick to show us something that happened, like especially that night at Stu's like party, maybe even during the confrontation scene, like when they're like with Sydney and like Billy and Stu, they're all in the kitchen basically. They got like the gun to her head and all that. Maybe something's going on in the other room that we just never knew about. Like that's super important to the plot in this movie. Just off the top of my head, I don't really have anything right now, but it would be cool to reveal something like that, like Gail's camera caught something or something like that. Yeah, that would be sick, man. I would be all about that. Something that just came to mind though is, do you think in Stu's house, like nowadays, like 2022 or 2020, I guess is when this movie takes place, do you think like someone's going to, like we were talking about someone living there, do you think it's going to be a Little John, Big John situation like in Halloween Kills? Like,
wow. No. I didn't think about it like that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, that's totally
like. Is it going to be like a? Is it going to be like a whole new family? Is it going to be like the Mocker family or something? Still, who knows? Like maybe it's a whole.
Interesting.
What's the situation there? That's just something that came to mind. Just want to get.
I mean, my thought was it was going to be kind of what we've always seen in the past. Liv's parents are going to be out of town at a conference for the weekend. You know, a la Stu's parents gone for a conference. Yeah. I'm expecting probably that, but again, maybe my expectations are too low. Maybe it will be something a little more original in that than just mirroring the first.
How many parents in this town go away on these conventions?
I know they're never
leave their 17-year-olds alone. I mean,
no supervision.
You're old enough to like take care of yourself, but still, it's like they're not just like going out for the night. Like, you know, what if like sticking to that? What if we all kind of think Tara is going to be the opening scene, but the sort of thought is that maybe likely she survives. But what if like Liv's parents get killed and Ghostface just makes it seem like they went out of town or something, like maybe an emergency happened or something, and Liv's away with her boyfriend or something like that, you know, and she comes home, finds a note and is like, okay, like that's weird. And like, but like her parents are the opening killed. It's like kind of like like you said, Big John, Little John type thing. I don't know. It's just something for thought. But Jay,
that's an interesting idea. Yeah,
it is.
Jay, what are your thoughts on Tara's opening attack?
Well,
I know you have some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to think that's the misdirection in the trailer, is that she survives, because we see someone in a wheelchair later on, and I know everyone, like we've all just been speculating for a while since the trailer came out that it was her and that she survives, and Dewey says attacks, so that's not kills. I think I'm starting to think that's the misdirection. Like I think she's a goner. Dude, look at all the advertisement of Jenna Ortega for this film. She's always wearing the same thing. She's wearing that one shirt or whatever. Shirt. Yeah, the pink shirt. That I think she's a goner, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's someone else in the hospital. I said it was Mindy in my video the other day, or from yesterday. A lot of people disagreed with that, which is fine. That's I'm not always claiming to be right. But
we are the law. We are the collective.
We are the law.
That's right, man.
Our word is final. No, but, I think it would be cool, because another thing when that trailer came out that I thought was so weird is, what are the two big things about a Scream movie that you don't want spoiled before you've seen it? Who's going to be the opening kill, and who's going to be Ghostface.
Killers,
right.
And you'll notice, like, all of Scream talk just across YouTube, not even like just us, no one's talking about the opening kill anymore. What if what if we're all completely sidelined and Jenna Ortega just really dies in the beginning of this movie, and we're all like, what? Like, what happens next? What's about to happen in this movie?
Well, let me ask you this, because this is actually something that I had been thinking about for a video. I mean, obviously in the original movie, that opening, I mean, that is still such a fantastic scene.
Yeah,
and I'm not even just talking about the surprise of Drew being killed. I mean, that's great in and of itself, but I mean, just the way that it was shot, the suspense, and how it was built upon each little moment. My question is, including with this new movie, is there any hope that the opening kill, or the opening, if we're getting faked out, whatever, is there any hope that it could even come close to that level? You know, I mean, I guess why I'm saying that is, for me, like if I'm radio silence, and I'm a huge fan of the franchise, and it helped give me inspiration to be a director, and and I loved Wes and all that. That would definitely be one of the things in my mind is there a way that we can make this opening scene, live up to that level? Now I'm not saying I don't know exactly how, but I'm just saying, do we think that there's a chance that this movie, or obviously if there's more, that they could get close to the original?
So I personally think
tough.
no. I personally think there's just no way, because the reason that was so shocking and surprising was because it's never been done before. Like up until that point, there was never the major movie star that was marketed, that like was advertised, like that was supposed to be the final girl that was killed in the first 10 minutes of the film. And so like I think that's what also added to it, especially besides the fact it was just a great scene in general. I mean, obviously we probably wouldn't be talking about it as much if it was just like a scene that fell flat, but the fact of it was what it was made it just that much more greater. And so I think they've always kind of been trying to chase that ever since. And it's never came close. And so that's why I think that personally, and I've actually suggested this several times, is that I just think that that's why Tara is likely to survive, because I don't think they're going to go with the surprise. I think they're just going to go with the brutality. I think they're going to look at it as like, we'll change expectations because everyone expects an opening kill. Now you have something slightly different. Let's just make the most brutal opening kill. Let the person survive because Ghostface is sending a message to try to bring Sam back. It's not saying that like if Tara dies, Sam isn't going to come back. Of course, if her sister dies, she's going to show up. But I'm saying like, she doesn't want the difference is that like if she was to die, Sam, you're probably not going to have Sam in Woodsboro long term. She's probably going to show up, around the funeral time, go to the funeral, and she's probably going to be gone. Where if she's in the hospital for say a month, then chances are she's gonna have to hang around. She's not just gonna leave her sister to be Ghostface food. And so I think that's kind of the route that they're gonna go. And again, I could be completely wrong, but we're the council, never. We're the cool. But no,
that's
kind
a
of my
good
take
point. Yeah. What about you guys? What do you think, Jake and Steven? Is there any chance they could ever get to that level?
I'll close it, Jake. You go ahead.
All right. I think that all of the Scream openings are like diminishing returns. I love the Scream 2 opening as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really strong. Scream 3's is like, it's fine. In my opinion, it's okay. And Scream 4's opening is one of the worst scenes in all of these movies. But that's just
I don't know about that, Jake.
I hate you guys. I'm with you, Jake. Scream 4's opening was awful. But anyway,
I'm not a fan. But I'll say this: if they want to try to do something like that, where it's like they subvert our words are hard, man. Subvert our expectations with the marketing by making us think one thing's going to happen when really something else happens. It's kind of the same thing they did in 1996, man. Yeah. They told us that, hey, Drew Barrymore is going to be the lead role in this new upcoming slasher flick. Come check it out in December. And well, that wasn't the case. So if they want to do that and try to do that again, but like in kind of a different way with Jenna Ortega's character, I think it would be pretty cool. I just don't think you're ever going to get that shock value again in this franchise in a sequel, just because we're expecting that. We're expecting two things from this movie, bare minimum, and that's a shocking opening kill of someone really famous dying or getting attacked and living through it, or and an awesome killer reveal as well, a mystery throughout. So I don't think that it's ever going to live up to that original film, but we can come close. That's what I'll say about it.
Yeah. No, I pretty much agree with you guys. I think the best this movie could do is for us to talk about it after we see it and say that is the best opening kill since Scream 96. I think that's the highest level it could reach. I think that Scream 1 is firmly implanted. It's never going to move, like we talked about. So if we have this discussion in 4 weeks, because remember, we could tease that later, but after the day of the release, we're having a collective, and so if we consider and say that was the best opening kill of all the movies since the first one, to me, they will have nailed it. Then they would have done a great job.
Right.
If we say that,
I agree.
Yeah, I think, and it's the only thing I would say this though is that if I have to say if Tara is the opening kill, I'm going to be a bit let down because they've shown us. It's like and why would you could do a trailer in a way that you don't have to show her opening the door and already getting stabbed. It's one thing to show her getting a phone call and a text, but to actually show her getting stabbed, to show her ankle basically getting broken, being stepped on. I mean, to me, if it actually turns out that she dies, I'll be like, oh, okay. Well, all right. You showed your hand, and you showed your actual hand. You didn't play poker, And so I want to be surprised, man. I just want to be surprised. I don't know if it's her or not. It doesn't even really matter to me. Whoever the kill is first, I want to be like, oh, snap! I didn't see that coming. That's what I'm hoping for. But our expectations are so high, and the radio silence guys, I don't envy them. Can you imagine the position they are in, taking this franchise and trying to please the audience and all the expectations has got to be just so stressful, man, and difficult. And not everyone's going to like it. We know that, but
that's just everything in general.
That's everything in general. It is.
Yeah, you're gonna have people hate it, but I mean, like even just not the opening kill, like how you were saying, like we're gonna be looking back and be like, this was the best since '96. I think that's just for the movie in general. I really think that we're gonna this is gonna be the film we talk about for years to come. I think this is gonna be, and I could be completely wrong, but I think I just don't think anything will ever overtake '96 just because of what it did. I mean, we wouldn't have Scream 5 if it wasn't for '96. Right. Just the way it changed horror, just everything about it. I don't think you'll ever get that. But you could get to the point where it's like you got 1A and 1B. This is they are right there. And so I'm really confident. And I'm hoping that when we have that collective the day that it's released, we're all just kind of like, this is it. This is the film we were hoping.
Yeah. Right. No, I agree.
That'll
be great.
Some final touches on that I just want to throw out there. I feel like there's two sides to this coin with the opening scene that I'm kind of bittersweet on both sides with. If let's say on the side that they do kill Jenna Ortega, Steven, I think I do kind of agree that I'll maybe be a little disappointed that they put it in the trailer. Which I kind of wish they just wouldn't have done. I wish they just wouldn't have shown that at all.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And because then I would have been shocked. I would have been like, oh, I wasn't expecting Jenna to die this early. That's crazy.
Exactly.
But then on the other side of that, if she lives, we're and let's say Dewey's right. There are 3 attacks at the beginning of this movie where 3 people are attacked by Ghostface and survive through it. That's kind of disappointing too. Imagine if Jason Voorhees just stabbed you in the ankle, drove you to the hospital, and was like, "Hey, fix this guy," and then drove back to the camp and started stabbing more teenagers. It's no one wants to see that. I want to see Ghostface brutally murder somebody. I want to see the completion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
a good point.
But I think
it is a good
point.
When
Dewey's referencing attacks, I really think it's a mixture of deaths and survival. Because instead of you just say, because what is he gonna do? Is just say, there was 3 people that were attacked, 2 died. I mean, and maybe he does, because you remember we haven't seen the full context of the conversation. We've only seen brief moments, so maybe he does explain hey, and 2 people have died, 1 was attacked, one of them is in the hospital. So
and it could be different dialogue in the movie too.
Exactly. Well, that's another thing too. I mean, Scream 4 had several scenes that weren't even that weren't even in the film, and 2 had completely different dialogue.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely something that to think about. But
I mean, just today, and it's not a spoiler, but just today seeing Spider-Man, I mean, there was some different dialogue in the movie versus the trailer. Some things that were, I was like, wow, okay. So I think that's definitely a possibility for Scream.
Yeah, I definitely do. Well, why don't we so that way we can engage with the audience a little more, because we gotta wrap this up relatively soon. Believe me, I have so much stuff I want to talk about, but because just so everyone knows, for the people that are new here, after this at 5:00 we jump over to Podcast Now's channel, because we'll all be there, as well as several other creators for Scream. So it's going to be a huge Scream event. So we got to kind of wrap up so we can meet, talk, and get over to that.
Podcast Now.
why don't we get some comments just to get like some engagement, maybe spend like 10 minutes or so.
Totally.
Well, we did have a comment from Logan, or at least one of the last ones was talking about what are our thoughts, confident thoughts, who do you think will survive this end of the movie, and do you hope they do a cliffhanger, something that hasn't been done before?
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
I mean, yeah.
Take it away, Jake.
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, go for it, Jake. You take it off.
I know he was the first one. He's like, yeah.
Well, yeah. Who I hope survives at the end of this movie. I hope all of our OG3 make it through. I hope they help out some of our new cast of characters make it through. But for the most part, I kind of want all the new people to mostly die. I mean, is that horrible? Like,
no.
It's kind of why they're there, if you think.
Yeah,
about it.
exactly.
Yeah,
like, I want to see a lot of death, man. That's if most of these people don't die, I'm gonna be kind of upset, honestly. Like, sure, like I'd like to see some of them come back for a sequel if that happens. But for the most part, what I'm hoping for more is that most of them die. Maybe Sam makes it to the end after killing the ghost faces. Triple ghost face. Yeah, right. Or she is one. Yeah, good. That's good.
Takes off the mask.
Ooh. But for the cliffhanger is the biggest thing that I would love to see happen with this. We've never seen it happen. We've never seen that happen in a Scream film before. To deviate from the formula is one of the biggest things this movie could do one of the easiest things this movie could do to impress me, I think, is doing something like having a cliffhanger ending. It doesn't necessarily even have to be that. Just something that changes up the formula in a way that's really intelligent and makes for just a great mystery and a great storyline overall.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think the cliffhanger is definitely. I would love to see that, maybe more than almost anything else, because that would just really just get you so. It's like a gut punch right at the end of the movie, and we'll literally be talking about that forever. You know,
right? Yeah,
I would love to see that, but I agree too. I'd love to see the OG3 make it, but I don't know if that's going to happen. My other hope is that hopefully Sydney gets some type of either survives and is in the next one, or some type of nice send off, because I think she deserves it. So, anyways, that's me.
What about you, Craven?
Yeah, no, sure, no, a cliffhanger. I'm all for the cliffhanger, because I do think that we will get a sequel. We've talked about it last week on the collective, so I think that's safe. So I'm going to say, all for the cliffhanger, because then you're not only talking about what you saw, but now what you are going to see, or what we could see based on how the ending is. So that's really a 2-for-1. So I love that, and so I'm all for it. And as far as who survives, I'm with you guys. I think most of them are not going to make it, obviously. OG3, I hope they all do. I still think Dewey does die. I'm not wavering from that, unless this last trailer really comes out and changes as a game changer as far as footage goes. Otherwise, I still feel that. I don't want it, but that's what I feel is going to happen. And I think Sam will probably make it, as much as I would kind of like there to be a twist and she doesn't make it. I think she will. And I'm pulling for Wes. Since for weeks now, I've talked about Wes, because he's named after Wes Craven, man. And I really, really hope, mostly because of that, honestly, that he survives and he makes it to the next movie. And, and as far as everybody else, I don't really expect anybody else to make it, man. I mean, really, maybe one other person, maybe, but probably not. And then, of course, we'll see Stu survive. So that'll be another extra person we'll tag in. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it for me. I think it's going to happen. So don't get too attached to these people, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Don't get attached when you watch this movie.
So, Steven, you're a fan of Craven?
This guy Wes Craven, I've heard of him.
You've heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard about. He's done some great movies. Yeah,
exactly. You just have it like above your head.
It's weird. Yeah,
this is red lettering.
That's the
what a coincidence!
I didn't do that. It just popped up one day. I had no idea. I'm like, what is this?
But no, I mean, I would absolutely love a cliffhanger. I mean, I think we'll have a conclusive ending. To some degree.
Oh yeah.
But I like having a ghost face at the end, like maybe, I mean, to be fair, almost all the Screams have had sort of a cliffhanger at the end of the credits. You get the ghost face flash letting us know that there's more to come. So I mean, we've always kind of gotten it. I just would like, full scene. And plus from a content creator perspective, please, God, like that would make
you're already going to be starting your marketing for the next movie.
Yeah.
Oh my
exactly.
God.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many rabbit holes you could do with that. And it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. It could just be a brief scene. Now, like as far as Sam, like I really think that they're making it so obvious she's the final girl. As cool as it would be to have a twist,
Right.
the problem is that you run the risk of whoever is the new final girl just completely falling flat. You know, like I think that they're purposely trying to establish her as the new final girl. So our expectations and our mindset going in is like, okay, this is the new sort of Sydney. So let's embrace it. Let's kind of look into it. Because the problem is if you just have a film and you have like all these characters, people are going to latch on to certain characters that they that they enjoy. And if there's no real establishment of like this is the final character, then now you have an issue where a majority of the audience might like Liv more than Sam, and so now they're like, I don't want Sam, I want Liv, and I just think that they're conditioning us to like same thing with the Dewey death. I think it's all conditioning. I'm a fan of you too. Thank you. I think it's all just conditioning.
So am I.
Thank you. But I think
he's kind of weird, actually.
Once you get to know him, he's all right.
Yeah, he's okay. He's all right.
You guys are flirts, but I think that I think that's what it is. I think like with the Dewey death, with like this, it's to establish from the jump so people aren't upset. People understand, people grasp from the beginning, like, okay, this was going to happen. Because like the biggest issue with Randy wasn't necessarily that he died. It was the way he died and how like shocking he died. Like, that's why people were really upset. It wasn't that, like, I think everyone expected at some point this guy's going to die. And I think that was kind of the case. It was just how they killed him really didn't sit well in people's view, and so I think they're trying to establish that. I don't think they kill Sydney. I still think that I think we're getting more and more evidence that Gail might be going out. That's
the night train. That's the night train.
Yeah, not as concrete as Dewey, obviously, but I don't think they would do that. I think it would be more subtle. But I think that I really think that, and we even did a breakdown of like what we thought our percentages would be and stuff like that. Yes, I really just think that those two are going to die. I think it's going to be like that. Sydney is finally alone outside of her family, of course, but like this is it. Like she is the final girl. Like that's it. Like this is it. She gets her send off. She survives. She probably gets roughed up pretty bad, but she stumbles out of there, and then it transitions to Sam. Going forward with 6 and 7 and all that stuff. But I don't know. I'm all for a cliffhanger. I want something, just like little something.
Yeah,
but I'm still a big fan of the whole 2 killers and a mastermind. That's what I really want to have happen.
Yeah. I think that would be a great way to do it. Yeah, that's how you do the cliffhanger.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got to ask you guys something, and we'll have a lot more Scream talk, obviously, over the next 3 weeks on the collective before the movie. But I have to just throw this out there as we wrap up. Do you guys, I know we've talked about Judy Hicks. I think we all believe she's either dead in that scene when we see her hair flying up. You know that's her, or it's a fake out. And what do you guys think about her now with all the information we have up to this point? Do you think there's any chance she could be the mastermind that is actually behind this? Or do you think she's just going to be kind of like a nod to Scream 4 and then we kill her and it's done?
Ugh, that's so
personally
tough,
so if we're going off of the information we have, she dies. But I don't buy it. I've said from day one, like I think my 3rd video I ever made on Scream was all of this information about how Judy has to be involved with something. And the more information we've gotten, the more it makes me think that she is actually Ghostface, or not Ghostface, but the sort of mastermind, because she's the only one left that has direct ties to 96.
That's true, man.
That would have known Billy and Stu and all that stuff and know what's going on. It's an easy story to explain without having to like really go down rabbit holes in order to make it convincing. It's already established, already there. It's already kind of set the framework. There was already all kinds of sus stuff from Scream 4 that just really like highlighted like, okay, something's not all the way there. She has a son in this film that is directly connected to the new group and the newer generations. So now you have that old generation, new generation. Like you could even have it to where, you know, Wes has been conditioned his whole life to do this, you know, and I've had people like, oh, well then like, why did she take so long to find out? Because one, you know, she was in a high school. She's probably manipulated by Billy. She's just kind of the throwaway, you know, girl. She's probably the girl that Billy was getting on the side because he wasn't getting it from Sydney, and just looked at it as like, hey, don't worry, I'm gonna do this, and then we'll be together type thing. Billy dies. She's upset, but like she's not in a position to do anything. Not just that, but Sydney and all them, they go to call. Like, what is she gonna do? And they don't even come back to Scream 4. No, you know, I mean, Dewey comes back, but at that point, she gets in the police force. She works her way up. She becomes deputy. Burke retires, but Dewey comes back, so they give it to Dewey. They're not going to give it to her over Dewey. So Dewey comes, boom. Dewey's the sheriff. He retires. Well, now she's in the position of being the sheriff. So now she can operate. She could fake her death easy because she probably she could have the coroner in her pocket and know what clues and things she needs to do. And now she can operate behind the scenes. I mean, that's just one idea. There's a million.
Right.
I do. I think that
she has the connections. Yeah.
I think she's the only one that really just makes sense, unless they're not going to have a character that is linked to 96. Unless they're just, I mean, outside of like a bloodline or something like that. But like, if they're, either they're going to have a character that's linked to that, which is Judy Hicks, unless some character comes out of the woodworks. But there's like who's left, you know. And then the other thing would be just the bloodline, you know. So I don't know.
That would be cool to see a character use like resources like that in a deceptive and evil way.
Yeah.
Like I think that would, like we've seen
that would be a new twist.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen Roman kind of do that. Like he was like a big filmmaker and stuff. And I guess he you know, obviously he had that huge house and all that. But like, I think it would be cool to actually see like the sheriff of a police department, like just end up start killing people. Like that would be cool. I don't have any reason to suspect Judy Hicks right now. I think that her son dies, and that's why we see her driving across town. Like maybe she gets like a call or something, and then like knows what's happening to her son, and she's driving like a madman back home. And well, maybe Ghostface gets a twofer. That's kind of my theory at the moment. But that would be sick if that happened, Fate. If like maybe she was using her resources against everybody else to cover up some shit from 1996. That'd be sick.
I want to real quick. I want to. Can you pull up Jen's comment real quick?
Yeah.
The one that says so. Like I get what you're saying. Like Judy isn't smart enough, or is she? You know, how many times have we seen in movies where somebody plays the ditz? You know, it's not like we got to see her life and her story. Like we just got to see the happy-go-lucky. Oh yeah, this bubbly, like you know, like
Lemon Square.
Very well just be a manipulation for Dewey. Makes her not a suspect because everyone's like, she's the person. Like, think of real life. Every time you hear somebody killing, what does the news report on?
I never thought that they could be the type of person.
I had no idea that they would do something.
They were great neighbors. They were such nice people.
Yeah, they were so sweet. They made us lemon squares, like you know, stuff like that. It's just, I think that's what it is. I think that was played up as the ditz. I mean, and even like Scream 4, you had that scene like where she gets shot in the vest, perfectly square. She didn't get shot here. She didn't get shot here. Square in the vest, perfect. Like you can like pinpoint accuracy. And then she just played dead the entire time. Like she literally just laid there until it was over and popped up, and then pulls her theta and goes, "Oh yeah." Like I just think that was her being smart and saying like, they think I'm dead. Two things are gonna happen: either A, Jill's gonna kill these people, and I'm gonna pop up and be like, "Good job." Or she's going to be killed, and then I'm just going to play the victim and be like, "Oh my god, I was," you know. So I just saw that and was like, "That's a good highlight." But
I agree.
Raymond, what do you think about about it all?
Yeah. I mean, I think what's cool about that is maybe that's this flashback scene we were talking about earlier. I think we've all talked about it in before, but you know, if there is a flashback scene as we're thinking there could be. Well, you're not going to flash back to anybody new unless there's someone there that we didn't know, you know, some inconsequential person. But as far as key people, you know, the key characters, we already know what happened to them. But Judy, right? But Judy was there. She was their peer. So what if that flashback does show footage of Judy somewhere in Stu's house?
Yes.
And that's the connection. That's the bridge between the original killings and now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're given, I know we're going on a rabbit trail, but if Judy is that mastermind behind it all, that's the connection to the original. Like you say, it's an easy way to write the story.
Yeah.
And and plus, with Sam's a relative. Well, she's got all kinds of. I mean, she obviously be a psychopath, or she's got all kinds of crazy motives. But anything reminding her of Billy, especially, imagine if her and Billy were in some type of a relationship off the books, and this person here is I'm just saying there is a lot of great ways if we sat down and mapped it out, you could do it. So I think that there's a chance that she could be. I just don't like that scene in the yard. I just hate that scene with Ghostface killing the blonde. You see the little hands that look very petite, very much like a woman's hands. And I'm just a little, that's what I can't get out of my head unless it's a fake thing. But here's my thing. If it's a fake out, guys, why is she crying and screaming in the car? If she is doing all this, there's no one in the car with her, unless maybe there is. Maybe we don't see the passenger side. Maybe someone's with her. But if no one's with her, then why is she just going, and she's like crying to her own party? She's going to her, unless she's just that crazy, I guess. But that's the only thing I have a question about with that, right? Why would she be doing that? I don't know.
Good question. Good question.
I think to answer that, I think it's just getting in character. I mean, there's no explaining crazy for one.
Yeah.
And two, like
look at
if she's going to stage something like that,
True.
and Wes is involved, right? So Wes would be the one that is stabbing Judy most likely, unless there is unless there are 3 killers, and maybe it's kind of that kind of thing, whatever. But I think it's all a facade. I think Judy we see a scene now, thanks to the ET thing. I don't know if you saw the entertainment behind the scenes stuff, but there's a scene where Dewey and Judy are in Judy's sheriff's office talking. And so I think it's very likely something like that. Like she gets a phone call in the middle of people, and Wes is gonna call from Ghostface. It's all a stage. She jumps in her car, bawling her eyes out, drives down the road, hauling ass, so it looks like it's a thing. Right. Gets there, and then you have the scene unfold. I mean, it's all of that. It's right. I mean, why did like Roman, we had a fake out with that. Billy, we had a fake out with that.
Right.
And they all played it up. You hype it up. Billy, why did he fall down the stairs? Like he could have just slowly stumble. I mean, he took a tumble. He could have broken his arm or something doing that. But he wanted to play it up. He wanted to, this is my moment, here we go, strap in. And I think that if that's the case, that Judy does have a fake, I think that's what it is. It's just her playing up the moment.
Plus, not only that, we got to remember these are filmmakers, so they're going to want to play it up to us as viewers.
Yeah, exactly. That was my
us as sitting there watching it. If they're going to try to fool us as viewers, they have to amp that up. Otherwise, we'll see right through it. We'll be like, she's the killer.
Yeah, she's driving home and it's like
exactly. Yeah.
So there's some pandering to us because that's what you have to do. Yeah. So
of course,
makes sense.
What about you, Knight? We haven't heard from you. What do you think?
Yeah, man.
I agree. I mean, I think that it's possible that she is just that crazy, that she's just going through the motions. And like you said, we've seen that. We saw it with Billy. We saw it with Jill. I mean, think about Jill too. Man. I mean, she was really, really psychotic. Yep. So, but one thing I wanted to say too is that I think with Judy, I think there's a good chance that she is involved. And one thing I wanted to say about it is it makes a lot of sense. It's the perfect bridge to the past because she is that character. And if you think about each movie, like they're not overly complicated. Like when you really think about it, you think about the original. Yeah, it's Billy, her boyfriend, and his best friend Stu. Like how simple was that? But the story is what took us through the woods and in the weeds. You know what I'm saying? The story, the way it was crafted, that's what made it so like, I'm not sure. Maybe it isn't Billy or maybe it is. And the same thing happened with the other 2 movies as well. Mrs. Loomis, In Disguise, Plastic Surgery, things that you like, once you see it, you're like, that makes a lot of sense. So I think Judy being involved or being the mastermind or however that works, I think it makes so much sense because she has the connections, she has the history, and it totally would fit. it totally would fit, and it would really wrap a bow to the whole series.
Yep.
Which that's a great thing as well, even though we know that they want to continue the franchise, but that would be such a great way to tie everything together. It really would. So I'm all for Judy. Yep.
It's a good point. But I think this is a good spot to wrap up. I do want to just because, like I said, we would go longer, but we got to prepare for the podcast now thing. I do want to say a couple things. So next week's episode and the episode after that will be recorded. It's not going to be a live stream because it's Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But we wanted to make sure we got you guys an episode. So we'll post it on our various channels. So look forward to those. Just so you guys know. And also, Kate, we referenced it in the actual videos. So you'll know. But just for those that are here, we also established that, like, hey, there might be information and things that come out between now and then that wasn't available at that time. So just keep that in mind. Go at 5 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern and 7
Standard.
p.m.
At some point on Friday.
At some point tonight, go over and check out Podcast Now's YouTube channel. Because we'll all be there as well as some other creators, so it should be a really good time. Should be a lot of fun. Let's get in the chat. I want to see some of you in the chat.
That'd be great.
Assuming that we get to see the chat, I want to see the collective fans showing up because we
be
outnumber the others. So we need
exactly.
Yes,
and we've got an hour break, so you guys got time to have a bathroom break, grab a snack, stretch, whatever you got to do.
Right. I was going to say, let's just make sure we're real clear on the time. So everyone, if who's here now, because I see we got, over 20 people in the chat. So so we've got, it's going to be 7 p.m. Central. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 50 minutes, 50 minutes from now, basically. We're going to start. And so, 5 p.m. Pacific, right? Right, Fate?
Sure.
Just so you guys know, when we get done here, you've got like 45 minutes and plenty of time to grab you some dinner, whatever you need to do. And then, come over to Podcast Now. You can literally search for it, and it'll come right up as a channel.
Yep.
And
we also have that link on all of our community pages.
Yeah, we do. All of our channels. That's right. So, we would love to see you guys there.
Yeah, especially Aaron. Yeah, so it's called the name of the channel is Podcast Now. It's not it's not a podcast. It's actually
He's got like 60,000 subs or something.
Yeah, something like that.
His logo's like it's like a microphone.
Yes.
You can't miss it. If you type in Podcast Now on YouTube, it's the first thing that pops up.
It did.
So
it is.
He's
go to our channels.
Creator.
Or go to our channels.
Any of our channels, we all have it. We all
Whatever's
promoted
easier.
it. But thank you all so very much. Seriously, we appreciate all of the support. You all being in the chat.
Yeah, we really do.
Any of you guys have any parting bon voyages?
I'll let you go first, Stephen or Jake.
Oh, sure. I'll say see you in 45 minutes. That's my parting word for tonight. Because we want to continue this party in 45 minutes. So we're really not ending. We're just taking a break. That's all we're doing. So that's my word. See you guys over there.
My parting words then are see you guys in 44 minutes.
Oh,
peace out. Yeah. So original.
Yes.
I'm not as competitive as those guys. So yes, we're going to have a party on Podcast Now very shortly. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here. We'll catch you guys later. And remember, the collective has spoken.
That's right.
Yes.
Peace.
See you guys.
Peace.
Thank you.